Just seconds away from Derek Ashong. First, check this out.
Hip hop. Since I first heard it as a kid in Brooklyn, I've watched it become a global cultural movement, a voice for the masses. Today, our generation has the talent and the technology to speak for ourselves. So we launched Take Back the Mic. It's a music competition that gave real people a chance to decide who speaks for them. Nominated for 2 digital Emmys, now we're taking that mission global. Oh, and who am I?
So nobody has to tell me again, have you met Derek Ashong?
Born in West Africa in a house with no running water, I got to see the world on the wings of my own artistry. And now I'm doing the same for the next generation. This is more than political. It's more than spiritual. It goes beyond borders and culture. It's our common ground. One language, one universal bond. This is the World Cup of hip hop.
That's just a flash of Derek Ashong, master storyteller, producer, hip-hop artist, world traveler, storyteller. There's so much of you packed inside of you, man. Where does all this energy come from, Derek?
Thank you so much, Terry. It's great to be here with you. I think a lot of the energy comes from having grown up all around the world and getting a chance to see so much of what's possible, so much of what's out there, all these different ways of looking at, experiencing, thinking about culture. And for me, having the opportunity to be a kind of a cultural curator is the most exciting thing in the world, because I not only get to make cool stuff, but I get to help other people make and amplify cool stuff.
But your rocket fuel has something to do with where you came from, your launch pad, man. You came from fairly humble beginnings, yeah?
Yeah, I did. I mean, my family, has seen high times and low times. I was born in Ghana in the late 70s. I don't know if I'm supposed to divulge the proper age. I'm older than I look, got that good skin. But I also had the opportunity to grow up around the world, and I lived in the Middle East during the first Gulf War. I used to sleep in a room with a gas mask. I mean, I've been through a lot of different things. And because of that, there are things that might be easily taken for granted that maybe I don't take for granted just because of the nature of my upbringing. So there are little things that, yes, inspire me, because I realize that a lot of people don't get access to some of those little things.
Always remembering where you come from, how much of that can you attribute to helping lead change, to bring others along? Because you're masterful. When you walk into a room, your energy is infectious, and you tend to bring a lot of people along, but you do it well. Is that part of your secret sauce? What's going on there?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure what that is, because people will say yo, you come into a room and you suck up all the oxygen. And I like to think that, well, I come into the room and I light up whatever is already in there. And basically, I think some of that is just from, I was raised to be comfortable in my own skin. So it's not like I couldn't be or feel shy. It's just that, we're all here and we're doing whatever we're doing, and let's bring our best to it. There's a saying in Ghana, a symbol. It's called you could call it a visual proverb, and it's called Jinyami. And Jinyami means accept God, not accept, but accept. So all things change except God. I fear no one except God. No one is greater than I except God. So what happens is, a lot of people from where I come from, you see them and they see you, and it's easy to be excited because you don't feel like, oh man, who are these people? They're so awesome. Am I good enough? Or would I be cool enough? Or do I fit in? It doesn't matter. No one is greater than I. That means no one is greater than you too. So now we can get past all that and we can get into whatever we came here for. And that is kind of the genesis of how I hold my space. I try to show love and respect to all the people that I deal with, and for myself as well. And if you do that, it's easy to bring something to the table.
It's great, man. I'm just blocks away from Brooklyn. You were probably about 19 or so in Brooklyn. Let's just snap back to that moment in time. Did you have any idea what your destination was about 19, 20 years old?
No, there's no way. So I was in college at the time, and I had these, I think I had big dreams. I had ideas that I could do special things. I had no idea where it would take me. As a matter of fact, I remember working as a fundraiser for a law school when I was in college. And I was calling up all of these people asking for money for the law school. I was the second best fundraiser on the program. The other guy was like 20 years older than me. He was a grad student. He'd done all this stuff, but I was really good at it. And I would talk to people. I was excited for the school, and you should support. It's going to be amazing. And I remember one of the alumni asked me a question. She said, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?" I was like, "I want to be a lawyer." She's like, "Well, why?" I was like, "Well, because I don't want to be a doctor." She's like, "Are you crazy? Like, that's the worst reason to be a lawyer ever. Like, what do you love? What are you passionate about?" I was like, "Oh, I love music. I love to write music." She's like, "So why don't you do that?" And that literally transformed my life. I became a songwriter, then I became a producer, then I went and started working with multi-platinum producers, then I became an executive, then I moved into radio and television and film
Nice.
and all with technology. And it just kind of unfolded by following where my passions led me and trying to be good at what I do.
Great to hear about passion and fuel. You're surrounded today by a group of next-gen leaders from around the world. 32 teams are competing at this year's Enactus World Cup. 10 of them are from the continent of Africa. They are fueled with passion, but you're a great storyteller. And one of the key aspects of creating impact is sharing that story, amplifying that story. Give us a couple of tips, and what does it take to help take that passion and fuel inside of you and amplify it out to the world?
Okay, so I think the first element of that is you actually have to tell a great story. You don't want to amplify a bootleg story. And the essence of telling a great story is telling something that you really feel, something that is authentic to you. And if it's authentic to you, it can be authentic to other people too. I think a lot of times people try too hard. It's like, I'm going to have to be cool. I'm going to have to be fresh. I'm going to have to XYZ to be acceptable. But who cares? At the end of the day, all you have is you, and all you have to bring is you. But as my wife always tells me, you have to bring all of you. If you bring all of you, the best of you, and you talk about things that are authentic to your heart, there's a reality that people can resonate with. If they can resonate with it, then they want to share it with other people because like, yo, check this out. That meant something to me. And if they share it with other people and it resonates with them too, now the story goes. And so the amplification of a story starts with the telling of it. Once you've told it well, there are all kinds of different ways that you can make your truth connect with someone else's truth. And that is where, great storytelling comes from, I think.
Thanks, Derek. Nice little move there, because you really focused on it has to come from you and self. And then you made a little move to your wife. So my wife reminds me, right? Which brings me to team. Many of our Enactus teams work in teams, and sometimes teams implode. Sometimes teams can't hold it together. In fact, a lot of great failures of startup businesses, in fact, are not hearing or not understanding or not listening to the audience or those needs, but also not getting along with team. You obviously surround yourself with a pretty tight team. Tell us a little bit about the dynamics of team.
So team is hard. I mean, team takes work. People think like, you're just going to find the perfect people. You got to get the best people and everything flows. No, 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 no. Finding the best people in and of itself is super difficult. And it takes time and energy and commitment and focus. Then when you get them in, we're all people. Every single person you add to a team shifts the dynamic. So you have to lay the groundwork of what we are, what we believe in, what's our culture, what are our values. And then you got to stand by them. There's this concept in business, especially in startup life, that, you got to be slow to hire, quick to fire, take a long time to find people. If they're not good, get rid of them. I am maybe slow to hire. I'm definitely slow to fire. And it's not because I'm scared of hurting people's feelings or making tough decisions. Tough decisions are what we do on a daily basis. But it's because I believe that when you find great people, you hold on to them, you help them, you work together, you cultivate a relationship, you find ways to bring out the best in each other. That takes investment. So that's why we don't hire people who are sort of like, meh, if we're not excited about you, forget about it. But if we're like, yo, there's a spark, then we're going to get and work with that spark and build a team, hopefully that lasts.
Thank you, Derek. There's a lot to be said about loyalty, and you never know in life. People come around, you work with them again. So whatever team you start with, you're probably going to see them again. They might be your customer, they might be your associate, and they might be your best advocate. So you talked a great piece about team, but you also slipped in there some word called values. And values are really amazing to lead with. At Enactus, we lead with really important values. I think of them as IPIC. It's integrity, number one, integrity, the essence of everything. Passion, you got plenty of it. Innovation and collaboration. I want to ask you a question, Derek. Hip hop, you got the World Cup of hip hop. We got a competition, and competition is on, right? It's feisty, you know. It's getting in there, doing your best. Sometimes it's holding back your IP, but then there's this other piece of competition called collaboration. So how do the two work in balance between competition and collaboration?
I'll give you a simple example. So the first time we did the World Cup of Hip Hop, we started with 3 countries. We did Brazil, Colombia, and Jamaica. Fans decided which of the 3 artists would represent, out of all of these different artists, which 3 would represent a country, and then which one would be selected to stand on the stage as the Jamaica, Brazil, Colombia representative in the finale. We brought all these artists together. Some of them speaking English and patois, some speaking Spanish, some speaking Portuguese, none of them understanding each other. And we went up to a rooftop in Miami, and we had a cypher with a Grammy-winning DJ and a bunch of other people who joined up. They heard about it. They came in off the street. And it was so beautiful because these folks are all in competition with each other for who's going to raise up the whole golden mic. And yet they're all freestyling, flowing, bigging each other up, beatboxing, dancing, the whole nine. Because at the end of the day, we realize that the competition is to show the best of ourselves. But the collaboration is how we go somewhere, right? There's this old African saying. I'd say African saying because it's like, what country in Africa? Africa is huge. I don't know what country. But the saying is simple. If you want to go fast, go low. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that's where it comes in. We compete because it's iron sharpening iron. We're trying to be the best of who we are. But at the end of the day, if you want to succeed, my best needs your best for us to move forward as a community. And that's why collaboration
Derek.
is so important. These things
Thank
go
you
hand
so
in hand.
much. Thank you so much. I love that African proverb. My gut says that everything's coming out of Africa anyway. We all brothers and sisters connected some way, somehow. So competition is tough and collaboration is tough. And I'm surrounded by young students who are displaced in 2020. The world crashed, it changed, it burned, it's on fire. We're talking about rising voices of inequality. We're talking about tough stuff here. We're faced with change faster than we've ever seen it before. Your ear to the street has been profound. You've been listening all over the world. What are you hearing right here, right now? What's the voice of the street telling you?
The voice is speaking very loudly, and it's saying that it wants to be heard, and it wants to be heard in a manner that is unfiltered. You know, people are tired of being interpreted in ways that don't reflect the best of them. And what's happened historically is you have a small number of people who have the megaphone, the microphone, who have the amplification of how they see the world, and then everyone else is defined outside. You know, we're now looking at the first generation that truly has the talent and the technology to speak for itself. So the work we do comes under the banner of Take Back the Mic, literally let a generation speak for itself. And that's what we've been hearing bubbling up from the streets for years. And now it's unassailable and undeniable. Nobody needs a translator anymore. Everyone is willing and prepared to tell their own story.
Unfiltered, Take Back the Mic. Thank you for all you do, man. You are helping voices all over the world rise, many times unite. There is definitely rising voices with anger, with energy, with power, with fear, with worry. Where do you go to find the joy? Where do you go to find what unites people versus maybe what divides people?
I go straight to the artistry. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a businessman, I'm a technologist, entrepreneur, all this stuff. At the heart, I'm an artist. Because to me, art is where you find the depths of humanity and the elements that speak from one person's humanity to another. My particular art form is music. And for me, music is profoundly powerful because it's the only art form that can operate on you passively. Like if I go to a movie and I close my eyes, I'm not going to get the full experience. But if we're having this conversation, someone's playing Bob Marley in the background, gives it a certain spirit. They're playing Vivaldi in the background, gives it another spirit. They're playing Metallica, gives it another spirit. Music gets in you. And for me, the joy is in the artistry, the creativity, and also the ability to amplify the creativity of other people. And that's where, my heart and soul is in this moment in time.
Many people ask the question, who is Derek Ashong? And by the way, man, your name is like, it's already a brand. Derek Ashong, you can't even say it without feeling happy, man. It's you got good genes. I'm going for a bonus round here, but before I get there, 3 great tips. So great, we've got next gen leaders all over the world working on impact, working to entertain change. What do you say, 3 top tips for those out there working in some tough spaces, tough places, working on projects and passion to impact people, planet, and prosperity, but they also want to share their message? What are your top 3 tips for those kind of storytellers?
I would say first, do something you believe in. Tell a story that you truly care and know about. People can tell when you're faking the funk. Let it be authentic to you. It doesn't matter what the issue is. Pick something that matters from your perspective. The second thing is listen. And this is tough to say to young people because obviously, folks, you grew up, everyone's telling you what to do anyway. But you need to listen. You need to listen to your community. You need to listen to your peers. You need to listen to your customers, whether you're a business or a nonprofit. You need to listen to the folks you purport to serve. You need to listen to the people you are answerable to. Listen. It doesn't mean that every idea you hear, you're going to take it on, but it means that you can learn from the energies that are around you to figure out what makes sense. You take your idea, your concept, you absorb what's out there. And then third, believe, right? Because it's easy to start in one place and then you say, oh, I'm going to be listening. Dee said I should listen. I heard all these different ideas. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. You may be or not. I'm not saying listen so that you're buffeted by the winds. I'm saying believe in something. Listen, then have faith. Have faith that you can achieve what you're seeking out to. And if you stay attuned to what's happening around you, the universe will guide you to where you need to be.
Grateful for all you are, grateful for all you do, grateful for your message and your top 3 important tips. Listening, some people think it's passive. That's actually active, man. I really appreciate your time, your space and place in this universe. Thank you for you. I'm going to go for a bonus question. We're going to close out this session right now. And thank you, Derek. But for those of you who continue watching later on YouTube, I'm going to ask you this question. Your favorite failure, coming up on YouTube. You may not know the name Rawson Thurber, but you will. And for sure, you know his work. Check this out.
Dodgeball! We have been shot at. Kenny's been bitten by a tarantula.
I can't feel my bingo.
Drop your weapon! Do it now!
I got a plan. Might get us both killed, but if it works, it'll be a totally boss story. Cool?
No, it's not cool.
Cool.
No, I said it's not cool.
Man, when you watch those clips together, you got to say that guy is out of his mind. But I happen to know our guest, Rawson Thurber, and he's very much in his mind. Rawson, thank you so much for being here at the Enactus World Cup 2020. How are you?
I'm great. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Rawson. Talking about being out of mind, where's the genesis for all of this? Where do those story ideas start? And what's the process of getting an idea in your head or stuck in your head, out of your head, and onto a keyboard?
Oh man, that's a big question. I think where do any ideas come from? I think they come from life. I think they come from what you find interesting, what you observe, what you're passionate about. And growing up, I always my whole family loved movies, and we'd go all the time and we'd talk about them, and they held a place of high esteem in my family. And so I've always loved him since I was a kid, and always could write a little bit, and always wanted to tell stories. And I loved comedies. I loved making my mom laugh, and I think that's kind of how I gravitated that way. I started with a short film called Terry Tate Office Linebacker, and then I moved into dodgeball. And I'd always been a sports fan and kind of a comedy nerd, and put those worlds together. That's how I started, at least on that side.
Rawson, I remember getting a script when you were at USC. It was this little thing called dodgeball. And then I remember being at your graduation. And I was wondering, if you consider our audience, many of them are 19, 20 years old, they're storytellers. You in college at that time, that's not that far back, but when you were in college, could you see your future?
No, of course not. I don't know if anybody really can. I think I knew that I loved movies, and I loved writing, and I loved telling stories, and I loved entertaining an audience. But when I was in college, undergrad at least, I didn't really know how to translate any of that. And then I ended up going to USC and learning about that process. So I think, I don't think I had a clear view of what my future would be, but I knew what I was passionate about. And I think two things. One, I think it's okay to not know what your future is going to be. I mean, as Yogi Berra says, the future is the hardest thing to predict. But also that if you follow what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, the future will bring itself to you. And I think a lot of my friends get so caught up in not wanting to make a mistake or pick the wrong thing or spend time doing something that they're not sure will pay off at the end, that they end up doing nothing. And I think that's worse than anything, not doing nothing.
I always felt like you exude this clear sense of cool confidence. And it feels like that's a great way to build a team, and how you brought other people along with you. Do you recognize that value in yourself? And what might you say to young filmmakers who are really trying to assemble their team and trying to rally people into your own vision?
Well, first of all, thank you. I don't know if I agree, but I'll take it. I think, when you're just starting out, and you're trying to build that coalition or that group of people to help you, I think it's a lot about communicating a vision, and that a lot of that has to do with tone and what you're trying to say. And I found, at least starting off and also even now, of just repeating that vision, that, I guess, mission statement all the time, over and over, to anybody who'll listen, all the time. That, I think, helps bring the people that you want or who are interested in that same mission, that same idea, to you. That's at least what I do. Is try to point, make a mark on the map, a point on the horizon, and drive in that direction, and continue to encourage and explain why we're doing this and why it's going to be great and why it matters. And I think that helps. People need that.
So just moments before we got you on, we're scrambling, had to change camera heads, had to get everything together. Those little disruptions in this business you're all too familiar with, but there was a big disruption for the world called COVID-19. You were on set, you were filming, I believe you were in Europe at the time. Can you tell us a little bit about that project, how it was disrupted, and how do you reset today?
Oh, wow. Great question. Yeah, we were halfway through shooting the movie I'm making right now, which is called Red Notice. It's for Netflix. It stars Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. And we were actually in Atlanta, about to head to Italy to keep shooting when we had to shut down for COVID concerns. And I don't think anybody then knew how long we would be on hiatus or delayed. In fact, I'm leaving on Sunday to head back to Atlanta to shoot the second half of the movie with an incredible amount of COVID protocols and precautions in place. But it was, it's a brave new world. It's uncharted territory, and I think that one of the coolest things about Hollywood, about this particular business, is that it's filled with problem solvers. That's all we do, right? You're trying to create an illusion in a rectangle, most of the time a rectangle, and there's a lot of problems that have to be solved in order to do that. And you're inventing a lot of technology and approaches as you go. And so everybody who makes movies, whether you're the director or you're the prop guy, prop master, excuse me, we're all about solving problems and all about pushing boundaries and figuring out how to get it done. And so I don't think there's an industry better suited to get back to work, in the middle of a pandemic than Hollywood, frankly.
So I was talking about your cool confidence. It's so true, Rawson. And just before the camera went down, I hear the guys whispering, and they're all cool. They got an issue and they got a time clock, and you're an important guy. But how do you find yourself on the set when you're like, okay, this problem is large, this is big, I got money everywhere?
Yeah.
Where do you go to? What's that place? Is it a mindset? Do you meditate, a mantra? How do you get quick action?
No pressure, no diamonds, as they say. No rain, no rainbows. And I think for me, when the meter's running and you're dealing with a $200 million production or whatever, I think it's really revealing of character, and under those strains. And I think as the director, as the de facto leader of the set, how you react to problems, because there will always be problems, informs how everyone else reacts. And so if you start screaming and throwing things and pitching a fit, that trickles down, and other departments start to behave in the same way. So I think it's about staying calm in the pocket, remembering that that as important as a movie is, it's not life or death, and we will figure this out. And so I think typically when things go wrong or the pressure cranks up, I have a tendency of slowing down and trying to remain calm, and just take the problem solving one step at a time. If we can fix this, then we can fix that, and if we can fix that, we can fix the next thing, and then we get to where we want to go. So take it into pieces, slow down, and keep perspective. Those are the important things.
Awesome, Rawson. I appreciate the in the pocket football, NFL, Madden reference there. I know we're both fans.
Yes.
The staying calm in the pocket is really a lot to do with this year called 2020 and COVID. And as we and our students, our next gen leaders, look to solve big issues from everything from climate action to racial inequality and social justice, and working on big challenges, these interruptions can really bring out the character and bring out your values. I wanted to ask you a little bit about pinch me moments, from dodgeball to Meet the Millers, to Central Intelligence to Skyscrapers. Is there any time you're just on the set and you're like, yeah, this is large?
Every time I can't believe there are trucks there and there are people there moving things and setting things up. Every single time I'm on a set of something I'm working on, I still feel like a kid. I still feel like I can't believe how lucky I am to get to do this. Whenever I'm on the back lot of a studio, walking down a fake New York street, I get goosebumps. I love every part of it. I remember on our there was a moment on Red Notice before we shut down where we built this entire Russian prison with a giant bridge, and there was a 40-ton helicopter, and we had, I think, 200 crew members, like 8 cranes, 12 cameras. We were going to blow up a bridge, and I remember, and everyone was working so hard, and I remember sitting down on one of the set pieces, on this helipad set piece that looked like fake rock at the top of a mountain, and I just took it all in and was just, I was so deeply appreciative to be there. And I just thought it was so cool, and I couldn't believe all of these people were here to work on this idea that I made up in my mind. And it was a surreal moment, and a moment I was really, really proud of, frankly.
And yet you were able to blow up the bridge.
We sure did. It's a good one too. You're gonna like it when you see it.
Yeah, there's some things you don't get to do twice. Release the flies. I wanted to ask you a little bit about getting familiar with your audience, because I know that you started writing from a place of passion and the theater of your mind, and you do it so beautifully and so amazingly. But as you get to learn your audience, are there things that you key from knowing the kind of audiences that start to have an appetite for your movies? And just for a reference, Rawson, our next gen leaders and their work, they do a needs assessment. So when they go into the community, it's really important for them to listen first, be interested, and really listen to the needs, and then look for solutions that actually engage the community and co-create solutions together. But as you get to learn your audiences more, does that influence your story writing and your projects that are coming up next?
Oh, that's a really really good question. I guess I would say it's a bit of a yes and no. No, in that the only times I've ever really not had fun doing what I'm doing is when I work from the outside in, when I work from creating or thinking about something that I think an audience would like or other people would like. And I think you're already sort of lost at that point. I'm talking about certainly entertainment versus, activism or sending sharing an important message. But in terms of strictly entertainment, I'm the first audience. I'm making something that I would want to see, that I care about, that I'm interested in, passionate about, or love. And I'm fortunate enough that the thing that I care about, other people care about, or some, and that's my audience. So I'm really trying to. It's a bit of chicken and the egg. First, I'm trying to interest myself and entertain myself, but you also can't be so solipsistic or navel-gazing that you don't care about the audience. It's really important that you're creating something that moves them, interests them, engages them, inspires them, makes them laugh, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's both at the same time, if that makes any sense, but not one or the other, or one before the other. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, and it's perfect. In the neighborhood of New York City, where I'm standing today, and Hollywood, where you are today, there are many voices around the world that are getting involved in everything from political action to climate action and everything in between. And some people departmentalize and park, let's escape. Let's have this beautiful fantasy, and we got to turn that off and just have a good laugh for a moment. And that's fantastic. And then there are voices that rising voices of inequality. How do you departmentalize that in your business? It's I can't imagine. It's challenging because I know you're passionate about many personal issues and items as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, I think everyone who's in a privileged position, which I clearly am, has a responsibility to give back and to speak up and to use your skills and your trade for good, and to put forward causes that matter to you. So I think that the entertainment side is one element, but of course I'm not blind, and in this town we're not blind to what's going on globally, and certainly within the United States. And I think it's incumbent upon us to not sit idly by and not keep our mouth shut if we see something wrong. If you see, clearly there's plenty of injustice in the world right now.
Yeah, thank you, Rawson. I mean, you're in a terrific place to deliver something that the world needs right now, and that's just pure entertainment. It's a good laugh. It's the rest of our humanity that we need to escape often. We don't need to be overburdened and carry the weight of the world all the time. So thank you for what you do. I'm going for a headline moment here. Rawson, sure. I would really love to know, it's so amazing to have you here, but that's top 3 tips for our young filmmakers, our young storytellers out there. Do you have top 3 tips that you can share from that place of telling big stories in a short amount of time with compelling content?
Wow, top 3 tips. Well, I think if you're talking about trying to get your message across, whether that's a knock joke or you're trying to make people cry in a short amount of time, I think the first thing that has to drive that is your passion, your own interest, what matters to you. If you're trying to do it outside in, it'll never come across. So that's one. 2 is what's so powerful about cinema or film is that it's global. You don't need to speak a language. You don't need to be able to actually read. It's the power of moving images, right? And as we all know, an image is worth 1,000 words. And now imagine 24 images per second times a minute. So you've got a novel in 60 seconds, just like that. So I think the two things: passion. Remember the power of cinema, the power of the image to move. And the third one, I guess, the third tip I would say is about dedication and drive. That it's okay to have talent, and it's rare enough, but talent without hard work is nothing, right? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So if you're willing to put the work in, and you have the passion, you're in really good stead. So that's what those are the tips.
Thank you, Rawson. That's powerful and important. And I want to be very respectful of your time. I know you're busy and you're between shoots. Big projects coming up. Anything else we need to know about? I mean, Red Notice, that's amazing. Can you give us a little sneak preview or something that the world doesn't know yet about Red Notice?
Well, let's see. The world doesn't know about Red Notice. I don't know if I have anything I can quite share. There's I don't know. There's a couple fun surprises at the end of the film, casting wise, that I can't quite reveal on this call. But I would say you're in for a fun one. And it looks like I've just very close to agreeing on my next film, which I'm really excited about. But I can't say it yet. I know this is terrible, but soon there'll be an announcement about what I'm doing next, and I'm very, very excited about it. It's a little bit different for me, but it's something that's near and dear to my heart.
Rawson, those are two perfect cliffhangers. I'll take it. I know you contribute so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank you for your time for this session. And thank everybody. But on YouTube, we're going to go for a bonus round here. So I have two more questions if you're willing for the bonus rounds. Are you game?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.